The old man stood at the edge of his soybean field and stared at something that shouldn't have been there. Water. 53 acres of it. The morning sun reflected off the surface like a mirror, stretching all the way to the tree line. But it hadn't rained in 11 days. His name was Vincent Crowley, and he was 76 years old. He'd farmed this land in Iron County, Ohio, for 52 years. He knew every dip in the ground, every drainage pattern, every place water pooled after a storm. This wasn't normal. He walked closer, his boots sinking into soft mud that shouldn't have been soft. The water wasn't sitting on top of the field. It was rising from below. Vincent turned and looked north, toward the property line. Just beyond the fence was a massive construction site, cranes, excavators, concrete mixers, security fencing topped with cameras, Summit Gateway Logistics, a $68 million shipping and distribution hub being built by Corebridge Financial Group, the same bank that held Vincent's farm loan. And right along the edge of their property, running parallel to his fields, was a 15-foot-tall earthen berm. It hadn't been there 3 months ago. Vincent stared at the berm for a long time. Then, he pulled out his phone and took a picture, because he had a sinking feeling that the water destroying his crops wasn't an accident. Vincent Crowley had never wanted to be in anyone's way, he just wanted to farm. But his 140 acres sat directly between Corebridge Financial's new logistics hub and State Route 32, the only access road wide enough to handle commercial truck traffic. For the past 2 years, the bank had been trying to buy him out. The first offer came in 2022, $310,000. Vincent declined. The land was worth at least $450,000. 6 months later, they offered $340,000. He said no again. Then in early 2024, a man in a suit showed up at his door. His name was Derek Langston, Senior VP of Regional Development for Corebridge Financial. He didn't make an offer. He made a warning. The warning Derek sat at Vincent's kitchen table, smiling politely. "Mr. Crowley, I'll be direct. We're moving forward with Summit Gateway whether you sell or not. But without direct road access, our trucks will have to take County Road 19. That's going to mean heavy traffic, dust, noise, diesel fumes." He paused. "Your property value is going to drop. Fast." Vincent just looked at him. "That's not a threat," Derek continued. "It's reality. We're trying to help you get out before that happens." "I'm not selling," Vincent said quietly. Derek's smile thinned. "Mr. Crowley, you're 76 years old. You've got a $58,000 loan with us. One bad season and you're in trouble. We're offering you a clean exit." Vincent stood. "I appreciate you stopping by." Derek didn't move. "Think it over. Because once construction starts, this offer won't be on the table anymore." He left his card on the table and walked out. Construction begins. 2 months later, construction on Summit Gateway began. Bulldozers tore into the land. Foundations were poured, and along the northern edge of the site, directly bordering Vincent's farm, they built a massive levee. The contractor called it a stormwater management berm. But Vincent noticed something. The berm didn't just run along the property line. It curved inward at the southern end, blocking the natural drainage path that had carried runoff toward Cane Creek for as long as Vincent could remember. He called the county zoning office. They told him the berm had been approved as part of the site's erosion control plan. "Did anyone check where the water goes after you block it?" Vincent asked. The clerk didn't have an answer. The flood, 3 weeks after the berm was completed, Vincent woke up to find his soybean field underwater, not from rain, not from a broken irrigation line, from underground. He walked the field with his grandson, Eli, a 23-year-old college student studying environmental science. Eli knelt down and dug into the mud with his hands. "Grandpa, this soil is saturated all the way down. It's not surface runoff, it's groundwater." Vincent looked back at the berm. "That thing is pushing water somewhere, and it's coming up here." The flooding didn't stop. Every day, more of the field went under. Vincent's soybeans, planted just 6 weeks earlier, began to rot in the standing water. He estimated $11,000 in crop loss. Then, on a Tuesday morning, he got a letter from Corbridge Financial.Loan payment reminder, outstanding balance, $58,274. Next, payment due, June 15, 2024. Attached to the letter was a handwritten note. Mr. Crowley, we're aware of the difficulties you're facing this season. If you'd like to discuss restructuring your loan or selling the property, please contact our office. It was signed by Derek Langston. Vincent stared at the note for a long time. Then he called Eli. I need your help. The search Ellie drove down from Columbus that weekend. Together, they went into Vincent's old barn, a sagging structure filled with 50 years of junk. In the back corner, under a tarp, was a dented filing cabinet. Inside were land records, tax documents, and survey maps going back to the 1960s. Eli pulled out a faded plat map dated 1967. It showed the property boundaries, the creek, and something else. A dotted blue line labeled Natural Drainage Corridor, Seasonal Flow. The line started on what was now Corbridge's construction site, cut across the southern edge of Vincent's property, and fed directly into Cane Creek. Eli held the map up to the light. Grandpa, this is a historic drainage route. If they blocked it, the water has nowhere to go except underground. Vincent looked at the map. Then he looked at his grandson. Can you prove it? Eli smiled. I know someone who can. The hydrologist Ellie contacted Dr. Carla Bennett, a hydrology professor at Ohio State University, who specialized in groundwater flow. She agreed to visit the farm. When she arrived, she spent 2 hours walking the property, taking soil samples, and reviewing the old map. Then she pulled out a handheld water sensor and pushed it into the ground at 6 different locations. At every spot, the sensor beeped. Your grandson was right, she said. There's a subsurface aquifer running beneath this field. It's shallow, maybe 8 to 10 feet down, and it follows the same route as the old drainage corridor. She pointed toward the berm. If that structure is blocking surface flow, the water's going underground. It's building pressure, and it's coming up through your soil. Can you write that down? Vincent asked. I can do better than that. I can testify. Vincent hired a lawyer. Her name was Mara Jennings, a land use attorney in her early 50s with a reputation for taking on developers. When Vincent showed her the map, the soil samples, and Dr. Bennett's preliminary report, Mara didn't hesitate. This is textbook tortious interference. They're deliberately damaging your property to pressure you into selling. Can we stop them? We can try. The filing Mara filed an emergency, temporary restraining order, TRO, in Iron County Common Pleas Court. The motion requested immediate halt to all construction affecting drainage independent, hydrological assessment, removal, or modification of the berm compensation for crop damage. The bank's response was swift and brutal. Their attorney, Philip Crane, filed a counter-motion, arguing the berm was legally permitted, the flooding was caused by natural conditions. Vincent's claim was a delay tactic. The project employed 340 workers in stopping. It would cause economic harm. At the end of the brief, Crane wrote, the plaintiff has failed to establish causation and seeks to halt a $68 million project based on speculation and outdated maps. The TRO hearing was held on June 8, 2024. Judge Evelyn Harkness presided. She was in her early 60s, sharp, and known for not tolerating games. The courtroom was packed. On one side sat Vincent, Eli, Mara, and Dr. Bennett. On the other side sat Derek Langston, Philip Crane, 2 Corbridge executives, and a team of engineers. Judge Harkness looked at both sides. This is a preliminary hearing. I want facts, not speeches, Ms. Jennings. Proceed. Mara's argument. Mara stood and placed the 1967 map on the projector. Your Honor, this map shows a natural drainage corridor that has existed for over 50 years. Corbridge built a levee directly across it. She clicked to the next slide, a photo of the flooded field. 3 weeks later, Mr. Crowley's land flooded, not from rain, from groundwater. She introduced Dr. Bennett's report. Dr. Carla Bennett, a hydrologist from Ohio State, has confirmed that blocking the surface drainage has increased subsurface pressure, forcing water up through Mr. Crowley's soil. And here's the part that matters, Your Honor. She pulled up an email. This is an internal message from Corbridge, dated April 10, 2024. It reads, If Crowley's field floods this season, he may finally be motivated to sell. The courtroom erupted. Judge Harkness banged her gavel. Quiet, she looked at Philip Crane. Counselor? Crane's defense crane stood, visibly rattled. Your Honor, that email is taken out of context. It was a speculative comment made during internal planning. It doesn't prove intent. The berm was approved by the county. Our engineers followed all regulations. The flooding may be coincidental. Mara stood. Then let's test it. I'm sorry? Crane said. If Corbridge believes the berm isn't causing the flood, open a gap in it. If the water doesn't drain, we'll withdraw our claim. Crane hesitated. Judge Harkness leaned forward. That sounds reasonable, Mr. Crane. Does your client object? Crane looked at Derek Langston. Derek's face was pale. Your Honor, opening the berm could compromise site stability, or it could prove you're wrong, Mara interrupted. Judge Harkness made her decision. I'm granting a temporary order. Corbridge will open a controlled gap in the southern section of the berm. We'll monitor the results for 72 hours. If the water drains, we proceed to trial. 2 days later, a contractor arrived with an excavator. Under supervision from the county engineer, they dug a 6-foot-wide gap in the berm at the exact location where the old drainage corridor used to flow. For the first hour, nothing happened. Derek Langston stood nearby, arms crossed, smiling. This is a waste of time. Then Eli, who was monitoring the field with a drone, shouted, Grandpa, look! On the drone's screen, they could see water beginning to move, slowly at first, then faster. Within 2 hours, a visible stream was flowing through the gap, following the old route toward Cane Creek. By the next morning, the water level in Vincent's field had dropped 18 inches. By the third day, the field was draining completely. The emails, while the test was underway, Mara subpoenaed Corbridge's internal communications. What she found was devastating. Email 1, March 2024. Engineering flag potential drainage conflict. Recommend rerouting berm or installing culvert. Cost, $240K. Delay, 6 weeks. Response, proceed as planned. Risk acceptable. Email 2, April 2024. Crowley still refusing to sell. If property floods, value drops. May force sale or default on loan. Email 3, May 2024. Flooding confirmed. Prepare lowball offer. Mara filed them all as evidence. The trial lasted 3 days. Dr. Bennett testified. The county engineer testified. The emails were entered into evidence, and Vincent took the stand. Vincent's testimony, Mara's voice was gentle. Mr. Crowley, why didn't you sell when they first offered? Vincent looked at the jury. Because this land raised my kids. Buried my wife? It's all I have left of her. And when they flooded your field? I knew it wasn't an accident. The verdict the jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the 4 women stood. We find in favor of the plaintiff. We award $31,000 in damages. And we recommend the court order Corbridge to install a permanent drainage solution. Judge Harkness added one more thing. Mr. Crowley's $58,000 loan with Corbridge. Financial is hereby forgiven as part of the settlement. Vincent's eyes filled with tears. Epilogue. Corbridge was forced to redesign the entire southern section of Summit Gateway. They installed a $1.2 million underground culvert system to preserve the natural drainage route. The project was delayed by 9 months. Vincent's field recovered. He planted soybeans the next spring, and every time he walked past the culvert, marked with a small county sign that read, Historic Drainage Corridor Protected, Credisnund. He smiled. Vincent Crowley didn't win because he was rich. He didn't win because he was powerful. He won because he refused to believe the water was there by accident, and because one old map, one smart grandson, and one honest scientist were enough to prove the truth. The bank thought they could flood him out, but all they did was prove that some things, like water, like truth, like justice, always find their way through. Iron County, where the land remembers.